Wife 39F cheated on me 38M. 6 months ago, she is doing everything right now, but I can't forget her past behavior. So, we've been married for 6 years and have a beautiful child together, 4yo. Our collaboration has had more highs than lows. We, like many other couples, battled during the lockdown, but we managed to get through it. Having to stay at home with a 4-year-old who is quite active took its toll on both of us. Anyway, my wife started playing an online multiplayer game in December of last year, and she hasn't stopped since. Given the fact that we were both working from home and that all of the rest and relaxation options were still closed, I thought it would be an excellent stress relief for her. At some point, she started to dedicate more time to her game. At first, it was just 30 minutes every night, then an hour, and by March of this year, she was spending 3-4 hours each night playing and retiring to bed after midnight, or sleeping in the spare bedroom, depending on situation. This sent off alarm bells in my thoughts, and I inquired as to if everything was good with her. Yes, she answers, she is merely enjoying herself while playing the game. In response, I say that's okay, but I'm starting to feel ignored here, and she promises to reduce her gaming time in the coming weeks. Her working hours, on the other hand, rose rather than reduced. By the end of May, it was clear that she was suffering from a mental illness. She was either addicted to drugs or involved in an affair. Due to her obsession with her laptop, we were unable to spend any quality time together, and if I sought to urge her to spend time with me, she labeled me as possessive and jealous of her. It was a living hell on earth. As a result, I logged into her Discord account and downloaded her communication history. And what I learned completely broke my heart. Among other things, they discussed matters, took photographs of one another, and made plans for their future together, which was as dreadful as you might think. And it was evident that they had intercourse at some point, since he was complimenting her on her amazing experience throughout the conversation. Following that, I did some investigating and learned that the individual in question was a teacher at my wife's school. I also found out about his wife's social media accounts. So it was 6:30 a.m. At this time, so I went ahead and printed off the conversation history and put it in a folder as I waited for her to get up. When she finally woke up, I handed her the documents and went into our daughter's room to see her. She entered our daughter's room with heavy breathing and tears in her eyes, and I could hear her sobbing. Afterwards, I questioned as to whether she wanted a trip to her boyfriend's residence or if I should dispatch an Uber for her. This was the point at which she broke out laughing, which awoke our child and ended our conversation abruptly. You can work out the rest on your own. She said it was nothing serious, that she was merely worried, and that she had no intention of doing anything in accordance with the standard Cheater 101 textbook. It lasted just a few days until she said that she wanted to reconnect. My support for the reconciliation was unwavering from the beginning, since I didn't want to spend just half as much time with our child and because I still cherished my marriage. In response, she sought counseling, gave up gaming, and started taking an active interest in how to strengthen our love connection, basically becoming the perfect spouse in the process. Regarding reconciliation, on the other hand, I've chosen a different course. When I asked her to spend time with me, she used to be clingy, jealous, and controlling, and I'll never forget how she used to talk to me and label me as such. And without being conceited, I feel I can exceed her in some areas. She is a teacher, whilst I'm a software specialist earning 10 times her salary in addition. I am now back in the shape I was in during college, as the sports jersey has begun to fit me properly once again, thanks to my newfound fitness. A lot of feminine attention has been directed at me, to which I have not yet replied, although the desire to do so exists. On the one hand, I want to make things work with her, but on the other hand, I can't seem to get the images of her antics from my brain. Do you have any thoughts for how she may be able to successfully overcome her previous behavior? Story 2. Best friend of 9 years cheated with my girlfriend. So this happened last July. It's been a few months, but I still get terrible flashbacks. Since high school, I've had a best friend, and when we first met, we had a complete and utter dislike for one another. Because we both had affections for the same female, it was his ex-girlfriend, but he wasn't with her at the time, and he still had feelings for her. We were together. We all ended up working together for the same company, and as I got to know him more, he quickly became one of my best friends. He's a bit of a troublemaker, to put it mildly. He's been kicked out of the house several times, has been cheated on by women, and has had and continues to have drug issues. But I was always a good friend. I was there for him when he needed money, and was always willing to lend him a hand. Unless he is evicted, he will be living with me. I'd be the one to cry on his shoulder if he needed someone to do so. Briefly said, I saw him as a brother. At least, that's what I was under the impression. Fast forward 3 years, and he has a child with his best buddy, who also happens to be my best friend since we both play games with one another, and I have a 3-year relationship with someone else who is also my closest friend. While we were living together last year, his baby mama best friend would drop by on occasion, and my girlfriend would also come by on occasion. In the spring of 2019, my best friend, myself and my girlfriend moved into our own apartment and stayed there for a few months until moving out. We started arguing more often than usual around the beginning of June, and I had no clue why. Although I feel it was due to the fact that I had gotten a dog without notifying her, this should not be a major issue. Her problem was that she'd get drunk and be mean as hell, and I'm not someone who enjoys smoking or drinking, because I would look to be a complete, which she unfortunately was. My ex-girlfriend had become violent, and I didn't want to cope with it any longer. We had a screaming battle in front of my best friend and his baby mother one night, and we were beginning to have doubts about our friendship. I still had feelings for her, but she was unwilling to admit them. We made up that night, and the next morning she went to work. I had gotten her a job at my place by pulling a few strings, and I left her to it. The baby's mother calls me a few hours later and expresses her want to talk with me on the phone. She told me that when my best friend dropped her off, she spotted on him, and he confessed to her that he and my girlfriend were having a good time while I was at work, which I found amusing. He advises her to keep her lips sealed and assures her that I will not find out since he does not want to endanger their relationship by finding out. She gives me the text message telling her to keep her mouth shut and that she'll ruin everything. Ironic, isn't it? She then shows me the picture of the text message. I was really taken aback. Later, I went over to them and introduced myself. My friends merely laughed in my face, to which she said, "You obviously weren't paying attention," which sounds like a stupid excuse to justify what they did. When I inquired as to the reason, he said simply, "I don't have to explain myself to you." "You should have paid more attention," says the instructor. At this point, I'm just gone, to be honest. Most people would beat the living daylights out of someone at this point, but I was taken aback by the fact that two people in whom I had put my faith and for whom I would have sacrificed my life, I had even placed them on my life insurance policy, which I later revoked, would betray me. However, according to the baby's mother, she has placed child support on him, and he is having financial difficulties, so he is forcing my ex to pay the entire rent for their one-bedroom apartment, and she is reportedly unable to pay even her phone bill at times, according to what I've heard from other sources. Despite his efforts, she has refused to quit paying child support. I love her and consider her to be a wonderful friend. However, I continue to get flashbacks and am depressed all of the time. I went to the gym, lost a ton of weight, and went from 31% to 18% body fat, so I think I'm in good shape now, but I'm not sure. I've reached a point where I simply don't want to put up any more effort. The image I get is that all I'm doing is working out so that I'll look lovely in a casket. I've been taken advantage of many times before, and I'm a generally kind guy, but I'm fed up with people taking advantage of me. I'm losing control of my emotions, which is a very dangerous condition to be in, and I just want to give up on everything at this point. Could someone kindly direct me in the right direction or provide words of encouragement? Your words would mean the world to me at this point, since this is my last plea for rescue.